할 테니까 보여주기만 해.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cherry Clips. Today, I will be sharing a movie named Beauty Inside. Have you ever dreamed of waking up to a different face every day? Your age, voice, even gender varies. You can experience different lifestyles. Wouldn't this be a dream to everyone? This is exactly what happens to Gary. Last night, he was handsome and young. He hooked up with a girl. But when he woke up this morning, he was a totally different person. The girl is still asleep, so Gary sneaks out before she notices him. Gary has suffered from this problem for 10 years. Although his thoughts and spirits remain the same, his appearances vary every day. He can be a man, a woman, elderly, or a child, of different heights, voices, genders, and ages. He can even be of different nationalities. There's no way he can predict who he will be the next day. Gary has only one friend, Luke. They've known each other for 15 years. Because of his problem, Gary keeps a small social circle. Nobody else knows who he really is except his mother and Luke. Gary and Luke founded a furniture brand. Gary is a gifted designer while Luke is the salesman of his designs. Their after-work activity depends on Gary. If he is good-looking, they will go to a bar and hit on girls. After Gary's one-night stand, he makes sure to leave the house early. See, he's now an old man with a wrinkled face. For 30 years, Gary never steps into a serious relationship. How could anyone accept his situation? It has been a mystery why he is like this. The first time it happened was on his 18th birthday. He was about to go to school when he woke up looking like a middle-aged man. He panicked and asked his mom for help. There was nothing his mom could do, so they clung together, crying out loud. After that, Gary dropped out of school and helped with his mom's business. Luke didn't hear from him, so he went to Gary's home a lot. Gary's mom always shut him out. One day, Luke got drunk at a party. He stumbled to Gary's house again. A woman invited him in. Luke mistakenly took her as Gary's mom. He wondered why Gary's mom gained so much weight. Right then, Gary's mom walked in. Luke was caught by surprise. What happened? It turned out that the woman was Gary. He changed again. Gary explained the situation to Luke. It was unbelievable to Luke. To validate Gary's story, Luke asked him about their dirty little secrets. Who is your favorite Japanese actress? Aoi Sora. What is my favorite Zerg trick? 4 drones. They burst into laughs, and Luke believed him. The problem bothers Gary a lot, but it's fun for Luke. He always double confirms if it's Gary who shows up. Life is full of surprises. Now, Gary is a beautiful young lady. Luke would never get a chance to date someone this gorgeous. So an evil plan pops up. Luke asks Gary if they're best friends. Gary says, of course, so what? Luke puts his arms around Gary's shoulder. He begs Gary sincerely, since you are in this body, can I do you? For the sake of our friendship. Gary is pissed off. Luke takes a step back and asks to see Gary's boobs. Gary hits him hard. Of course, they're just joking around. As we all know, Gary and Luke founded a furniture company. Their brand is quite famous for their innovative ideas and attentive to details attitude. Gary is choosing a suitable doorknob in a store when he meets Irene. He loves her at first sight, not only because of her soft voice, but also her gentle gestures. He approaches Irene and learns a lot about her, so Gary visits her booth regularly. He listens carefully to her introduction, but never buys a piece of the furniture. Because he shows up in different appearances every day, Irene never recognizes him. Gary means to ask Irene out, but he's not satisfied with his recent appearances. Until one day, Gary becomes a charming young man. He buys a couch from Irene. When Irene helps him load the couch to a van, Gary invites her to have dinner together. Irene has a feeling that Gary wants something more. She's not a casual girl, so she turns down his invitation politely. Gary explains that he has practiced a lot for this. Irene is curious, so she finally agrees to go with him.
그쪽이랑 같이 밥 먹고 싶어서.
왜 꼭 오늘이에요?
Gary orders food from a restaurant and drives her to another place. He wants to introduce her to his favorite design house. Irene is nervous. She insists on getting out of his car and going home. Gary doesn't know how to explain, so he tells Irene his ID number and address. He assures Irene he will not harm her. Irene feels his sincerity, so she follows him to the design house. Irene is surprised that the design house belongs to the famous brand. Her company seeks every possibility to cooperate with this brand. She even sends countless emails to have a talk without any response. Irene asks Gary if he's an employee of the company. Gary doesn't deny it, so they have dinner there. Gary wants to share with her his favorite music, so he puts his cell phone in an empty glass. Irene has a good idea. If the dining table is designed with a hidden stereo, the user can enjoy HD music while having dinner. How wonderful is that? Gary couldn't agree with her more. After dinner, Gary walks Irene home. Their first date goes well. Irene trusts him gradually. They plan to meet again at 6 p.m. the next day. Gary worries about becoming another person if he falls asleep, so he sets lots of alarms. He stays up until the next day. They go shopping, listen to music, have dinner, and discuss design works together. Irene likes Gary a lot. Gary struggles with himself, but he won't fall asleep. On the third day, he takes Irene to his mother's workshop. Gary doesn't tell his mother it's him. Irene looks around and picks up a ring made of cotton threads. Gary shows her his hand. He wears the same ring on the same finger. They look at each other and smile a little bit. Gary is exhausted, but he manages to send Irene back home. They promise to have breakfast together the next day. Unfortunately, Gary can't help himself and falls asleep on the train. He becomes a broken, middle-aged man. Irene waits for him at the agreed bus station the next morning. She texts and calls him, but Gary doesn't give her any feedback, so Irene leaves sadly. Actually, Gary's by her side all the time. She doesn't know the middle-aged man is the one she dated earlier. Gary can't see her recently, so he devotes himself to designing a music table. After he finishes the work, he makes a contract with Irene's company. The desk is exhibited in her company. Irene is surprised to see that her idea turns into reality. Irene's company hires some interns. One of them is a girl. She's quite familiar with the music desk. This is Gary, in fact. Irene notices her. They start chatting and find out they have a lot in common. The girl invites Irene to have dinner together. She mentions Gary, so Irene is intrigued.
네, 자경 씨 반가워요. 앞으로 잘해봐요, 우리. 네.
The girl leads Irene to a warehouse. Those unpublished pieces of furniture were introduced by Gary a few days ago. Irene is dying to find out the truth when the girl confesses that she is Gary. Gary explains to her his problem. He's the same Gary, trapped in different bodies. He shows her the video he recorded every day. In the video, different faces flash by. Of course, Irene won't believe him, so Gary takes out the same cotton ring. It sounds like a joke to Irene, so she flees the scene. When love begins, it never ends. Irene can't get Gary out of her head. She recalls the good time they spent together. She misses Gary's every detail. Although it's ridiculous, she tries to accept the fact. Although it won't be easy, she still wants to get close to him. After serious consideration, she shows up in front of Gary's house. This time, Gary becomes a Japanese woman. When he changes nationality, he can't speak Korean, but he can understand it. A Japanese woman, more precisely a Korean man's soul inside a woman, a Korean woman whose boyfriend looks like a woman now and speaks a different language. The Japanese woman expresses her love to the Korean girl. The Korean woman queries the Japanese girl about her doubts. They sit on different ends of the table. Their conversation is serious. Their attitude is genuine. They are like old friends catching up. It's oddly comfortable. Irene insists on staying up and sees for herself how Gary changes, but she falls asleep halfway. When she wakes up, Gary is still sound asleep. So she walks around his house. There are all kinds of clothes, shoes, earrings. It must be hard for him to adapt to different characters. Irene reviews Gary's videos again. There are mixed feelings for Irene. They look different, but she is somehow familiar with them. Just then, a handsome young boy walks in. It's true, it's Gary. Irene and Gary give each other a smile, and they are determined to face the problem together. They've been even more intimate since then. They travel around and share good memory during that time. It's fun and interesting to go out with different kinds of Gary. Sometimes he becomes a little child. Irene ignores others' judgments and drinks with him. Love is bittersweet. The more you struggle to get out, the deeper you sink.
반말하지 말라니까.
내가 왜
반말하지 말아줄래?
힘든데?
Soon enough, Irene's coworkers are curious why she goes out with different guys every day. Even her boss warns her to be more careful. Her family is eager to meet Gary as well. Irene holds all the pain to herself. She faces all difficulties and pressure alone. Even when she's with Gary, she has to convince herself the stranger in front of her is her lover, no matter how he or she looks. Once, Gary plays a prank on her. He asks her to guess which one is him in a crowded street. Irene talks with him on the phone. All kinds of people walk by, but she can't tell which one is Gary. Even when he shows up, she still has doubts. She feels scared and lost. Finally, she uses medicine to ease the pain. Gary is totally in love and full of joy. He doesn't notice her difference. He proposes to her at the most improper time. Irene can't hold it anymore. She passes out. When Gary finds out how bad Irene's situation is in the hospital, he blames himself. Instead of protecting her, his love harms her more. He goes to his mom's workshop and asks her opinion. Her mom tells him the truth that his father had the same problem. She went through exactly what Irene has gone through. His father chose to leave her before they realized that she was pregnant. Gary asks Irene out one last time, and he breaks up with her. Irene hesitates a little bit and accepts his decision. Months later, Gary moves to Italy. Irene's life is back to normal. It seems like a good choice for both of them. One day, a unique piece of furniture in a magazine catches the attention of Irene's company. Irene is sent to Italy to negotiate with the designer. Irene can tell from the furniture that the designer is Gary. Actually, she regrets breaking up with Gary. After months of recovery, she forgets about the pain. She is stronger and more prepared for the difficulties. I love you not because of who you are, but because of who I am when I'm with you. The common interests and the beauty inside are more important than appearances. So she flies to Italy and finds Gary. They get back together. Although he changes face all the time, it's always Gary inside. And that's enough for Irene. The idea of this movie comes from a TV show. The first half is fantastic. The second half is a cliche. It's a typical Korean romantic movie routine. What bothers me most is how can Gary go abroad? He changes his face every day. How can he get a passport and pass the customs inspection? Do you have the same doubts?
나 너랑 같이 있을래. 너같이 말도 없고 표현도 잘 안 하고